Okay, so we're going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:35 p.m. As I stated previously, Emily Kimball is not sure if Emily can join us. She said she wasn't going to be able to make it. I don't know if she'll join via Zoom. I have not heard from Suzanne, but we do have a quorum of board members present, so we will forge ahead in the interest of time. First item on the agenda is to review and make any changes to the agenda. Are there any changes being made to the agenda, additions or deletions?
I don't have any.
I don't know.
Okay, hearing no changes to the agenda, we will move on to the approval of the minutes of the 9/19 meeting. I think there might be one error there. Mark, you were at the last meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think you just came in slightly late, and I forgot to add you as being present. So the minutes currently do not.
How would I update you?
What's that? Yeah, I know. I was like, how is Mark in the minutes? But not
Charlie.
Yes, Sue.
Charlie.
Yep.
You don't have me down as attending via Zoom, but yet you refer to me under visitors.
Oh yeah, Sue isn't there yet.
Okay. Thanks, Sue.
Okay.
So the motion, barring any other amendments, the motion would be to approve the minutes as amended to add Mark in person and Sue Wilson via Zoom.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Great.
I didn't see anything else.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A second from Leanne. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Moving on, Public Works, Roads and Bridges. The first item under here is the Longley Bridge Road Project update. So board members, in front of you, you will have a packet with information on this. The main one to focus on for now is the cover page from Linda. There's a cover page that's titled Montgomery Longley Bridge Road Montgomery Tap on the top. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, right here.
The board member? Okay.
Suzanne.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hey.
September 30th?
So,
Oh, no, that's
I'm guessing so.
So we're on item number 1 on Public Works, which is the Longley Bridge project.
Yep.
The cover page that you should turn to is the page that says Montgomery Longley Bridge Road, Montgomery Tap in bold on the top of it. It's in the packet. It's probably just not the top page in your packet. Might be the last page. Yes, that page there. Everybody see that? So, this is kind of the explanation of what's gone on here, and the supporting documentation below it outlines the changes here. So, the initial construction cost estimate was $227,418 and change. That was in January of 2021. This has since increased a couple times. The latest increase was a construction budget of $385,223. That outline is in the attachment that's got the table, Vermont Agency of Transportation TAP. So in the packet there's a page that looks like this.
Yeah.
So that's the explanation of the construction budget. So the construction budget has gone from $227,418 to $385,233. That's the construction budget as presented by Dubois King as amended. Linda is recommending that as we think about construction budget, we should add a 15% contingency to that, bringing the total construction estimate to $433,017.96. That's strictly the construction budget. That's the roadway, materials, erosion control, all that kind of stuff, the landscaping that's required, all that jazz. additional costs, Dubois King is requesting $10,000 in additional funds to cover costs incurred for the unanticipated tasks. That's in the Dubois King menu. It starts, or menu, document memo that has the Dubois King logo on the top of it. Their rationale for that is that the added meetings in coordination with the state and Army Corps of Engineers regarding the permits and the mitigation of impacts from the temporary fix that was installed, as well as the inclusion of stone fill from the temporary fix into the plans and documents, and the development of an updated cost opinion for supplemental grant application, is what they're coming up with the $10,000. Basically, it's additional engineering time with the plans, the permitting efforts, and development of quantities and costs that are original above amendment number 1 scope of work. There's a table in the back of this that gets to the $10,000, how they came up with that. In addition to the additional $10,000, NRPC Regional Planning, who is our municipal project manager, is asking for an additional $3,750 to cover their additional time on this that was unexpected due to the extended work. There's also an additional cost that was not baked in previously for a construction inspector. I have no idea what a construction inspector is. I've never heard of one before, but according to Linda, who has worked with V-Trans prior to this job, it is a required cost. That is $53,000 and change. So if you add up all of this stuff all together, this makes the total project cost about, I don't know, $1,000, not even, like $10 shy of $500,000.
Wow.
$499,974.96.
Guess I don't understand why it says remove and reset stone that's already there. Why would they charge you $75 a unit price for it if it's already there? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do, I'd like to walk through some of this and flag anything that jumps out in the cost estimate. The main decision point this evening for the board is whether or not we apply for supplemental funds to help the project. That application is due the 7th. Essentially, the options we have are to apply for supplemental funds and construct the project if those are awarded. We do not apply for supplemental funds and we have to foot the gap basically out of our budget, or we do nothing, and that could result in V-Trans requesting repayment of the grant funds that have been expended.
How much is that?
That to date is total town paid out to date, I believe, is $224,000.
Wow, and nothing.
So it's that 500, the half.
I'm sorry, I take that back. On the back page of Linda's memo, if you look at total available, town paid out, well, no, because that doesn't include construction costs.
And we've already paid $30,000 now. We've done the work ourselves, a bunch of it.
We've paid out at least $82,000. So we have a decision point here as to whether or not to ask for additional funds. We can ask for additional funds and apply for them. Let that run, and in the meantime, go back to these numbers and/or petition the state to, I don't know, use their common sense and realize that a project that was supposed to cost, you know,
Yeah.
$375,000 is now costing $500,000, you know.
So this other grant, how much is our share?
So yeah, so if you look at the total cost of the $500,000 basically, 20% is the match requirement. So that would be $999,994.99. Basically $100,000 is the town's match on the project.
Not taking into consideration we've already spent $30,000.
That includes that would be included in this.
So we.
Well, so anything. So
that's already. So it'd be 60,000.
Well, no, our total match would be 100,000. If we already spent 30, then that's already spent. But that 30 would be deducted from the additional.
I like to make sure of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so our all-inclusive match would be about $100,000.
Okay, so barring 30,000, we're still looking at 60 or 70,000.
Additional,
Addition,
yeah,
even with more of that.
yes.
Wow.
Mark, as you
And
point,
is this to go to construction next year?
yes, this would go to construction next year because the timing right now for this to
yeah.
come in, I don't think we'd be able to
No.
operate in the stream.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
we need to have a date because if
Yeah.
it puts out another year, it's gonna be $1 million, so.
yeah,
I mean, the way it's going.
yeah.
It's just, I just can't wrap my head around the amount of money just to stabilize that bank. I mean, it
No,
just
it
doesn't
doesn't.
seem to be reasonable. I mean, we put material in 2 years ago and it hasn't moved. We're protecting our road
Yeah.
and it just, I don't know.
No, I completely agree. And so I think there's,
But I think if we push back, then they're gonna look at us and say, any other grants we get, they're gonna say, oh, well, you're not gonna get them now or something.
yeah.
I mean, so they kinda got us in the corner.
So if we apply for this additional money,
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to apply for it.
exactly,
I guess.
if we apply
I mean,
for it this week and they award it to us,
Then we
in the
can-
meantime, if we figure out a way to get around this, we could always decline the award.
So
Yeah.
the supplemental funding grant is through TAP also?
It's an additional TAP grant,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean,
Do they allow any other type of matching through equipment and or time?
They would, except that in this case, it's all contracted out. So,
yeah, I mean, it's even hard for us even to haul the stone in because our trucks have the sanders in them and, you know,
we can't put them in there
it's hard to
without
put the
damaging
stone
it.
in,
Yeah.
because we could haul some stone, but unless there's other fill that we could haul, I don't know. I guess we can talk to him
Yeah,
and see,
I don't know.
you know,
So,
but even that's gonna cost us money, so it's, you know,
yeah.
kind of a wash.
So I think there are some things that we can flag for clarification in the construction budget.
Yeah.
The one that Mark pointed out is the one that I was questioning here, which is the stone fill. You know, they've got
I mean,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, items 5 and 6 under roadway, stone fill, stream bed material.
yeah,
They've got 720 units. Then they've got stone fill, stream bed material, remove and reset, 600 units. I don't know if that's the cost of the material or the time to reset it. I mean, I don't see how
Yeah.
the unit price can be the same if it's the time to reset it, if the material's there. So that's the one that I was wondering if the
Yeah.
45,000 can be deducted off of this.
yeah,
I
that's
didn't
what I
see
wondered.
anything else in here that jumped out to me as being duplicative or double dipping in terms of things that we already paid for and are on site.
Yeah,
What is
no, those two things seem to
borrow?
be the question.
I don't know,
Item 3.
typically when they talk about borrow, like it's moving earth from one place to another, but again, I don't know what that would be and why the unit cost would be $10 unless it's the cost to just move it. That would be my impression, but we can clarify that.
Yeah. And those are two of the big ticket items.
Yeah. Well, that one's $3,000, but
Yeah, it's not
still,
much.
$2,000 is $3,000.
Hay mulch.
The mobilization costs are kind of the biggest one here after the additional stone.
Yeah, yeah.
What's an
Well,
EPS?
mobilization is, I mean, everything's gotta come in
Yeah.
from the other way, so that's a lot of cost.
I will ask them what the EPSC plan is and how is that variance, you know, is there a variance there in terms of original?
Monitoring. I'm assuming it's
Oh.
like an environmental protection plan of some sort.
You know,
Yeah, I assume so, I just don't know if that's varied at all. Cause one LS versus $50 an hour, I mean, $50 an hour the way I see that would be, or I'm sorry, 50 hours at $67 an hour versus one LS at 18,000. Like, what's an LS? So we can continue to go back through this and generate questions to get back to Linda. The decision point tonight is, do we move ahead with applying for this funding on the 7th, which is
Right.
4 days.
Friday.
Yeah.
We have an application kind of ready. Linda's worked one up. We've been going back and forth on some narrative edits. I think some folks at V-Trans have been helping us essentially work on the narrative to make it a strong proposal.
Oh, okay. So what is the grant for?
What is what?
How much was it for?
So this would be for the balance of the cost. So
Is
I want to say it's for,
it 125?
no, it would be for somewhere, well, this number is not going to be gospel,
Yeah.
but 499, 974 minus 375. Holy wait, that can't be right. 499, 974 minus 375. I think it's 125,000.
That's what I thought.
I think that's what it is.
That number sounds, yeah. I think that's what it
I
is.
don't think it's exactly 125,000, but I think that's what we're asking.
Because remember, they came back to us about that.
Yeah.
And we said no, they got the
So, the action needed, does this town want to submit a grant application for supplemental funds to V-Trans Municipal Highway Stormwater Mitigation Program? So I should clarify for the record that it is not a TAP grant, as I understand it. It's a Municipal Highway Stormwater Mitigation Grant.
Oh, okay.
So apologies for misstating that earlier. So, is there a motion to apply for the Municipal Highway Stormwater Mitigation Grant? Begrudgingly?
Oh, I guess I'll make the motion. We're good.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Begrudgingly.
But we
All right, is there any further discussion?
aren't happy with it, but
Yeah. If there's no discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. I will let Linda know.
What is it for scene?
so this is,
That is planting.
yeah,
Stakes.
yeah.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the quotes for the Black Falls Road and Hill West Road. These are from Dirt Tech. We have copies here.
Yeah,
And Mark's got copies. If you want to take a look at them, we can circulate them. So these are for both of those projects. We have 2 quotes in hand. I just want to make it clear for the, as far as the purchasing policy goes, because these are above a certain amount. We did request quotes from multiple vendors.
I requested quotes from Goodhue Construction, and he came out and looked at it and just never got back to me with a quote. And then I reached out to Tetros, because a lot of local contractors didn't have big enough equipment to do the project, so. And they weren't even interested.
Yeah.
And then St. Andrews are busy, and so. Dirt Tech got back to me with these quotes. So the first one was the Hill West quote, project, which is replacing the big culvert up there. And it came in, the quote is under what we budgeted for the grant. So that's good. It comes in almost like $10,000.
That's for Westville?
The list.
For Hill West. And that grant needs to be completed by July next year, and they said they could almost get that one done this fall if we get the approval.
And then anything on the
And
Black
then-
Falls one?
Black Falls, that one is for 2 projects. It's for the project for this year and for next year. We're just extending. It's FY22 and FY23. And I talked to Bethany, and she said we can get an extension Cause the FY 22 was supposed to be done by October, like this year. And by doing them both together, we could get them both done by September next year, so. And so that's 2 projects combined on Black Falls, and both of those come in within budget. And they could do those next spring before July 1st. So they could get both those projects done before the deadlines in the spring.
Any questions on the quotes?
Did you want the amounts, or did you want, or just?
I think we can, in the motion, we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Motion
Is that
ready
it?
to
Yeah.
approve quotes for Hill West in the amount of $33,858.30, and Black Falls in the amount of $56,874.40.
And that's for reditching Black Falls and doing grant work, and then replacing 2 or 3 culverts across the road.
Yep.
And so it's all, stone lining. The reason Black Falls is a little more expensive because the phone lines are gonna be in the way, so we may have to have some of those moved.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the quotes for Hill West and Black Falls in the amount that was described?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second from Leanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
should I
Any
abstain?
abstentions?
I can go on.
You're the road commissioner, so you can vote on it.
Yeah, aye.
Okay. Great, so 4-0, motion approved. We'll get the ball rolling there. Any other updates on roads and bridges, Mark? Anything else we need to be aware of, or?
I think they got most of the sand pile up. I think now they're working on getting the gravel for the spring, and then some loads of 3-inch stone, try to get some of that in the yard. I think Scott's truck is done at Viking, so they're going to pick that up.
That's truck 2?
Truck 2. And the loader's been all fixed, so we'll be getting bills for that. It was overheating, and they had a couple maintenance things to do on it, so we'll be getting a bill from No Tracks on that.
Okay.
And I guess that's about it.
Okay.
I guess the guys still need a copy of the contracts too, sometime.
Oh,
We got the signed ones here.
yeah, we have a copy, we can make them a copy, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
make them a copy. And we can
okay,
make them.
yeah, we will get
Yeah.
them, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And just as an aside, Mark and I
Yeah.
did sit down with Aaron and the road crew last week and spent a couple hours talking about policies and procedures,
we know what
getting them set up with tracking programs to look at, what's going where for time and expenses, material expenses, reviewed purchasing policy. So I think we're getting into a good spot with the crew in terms of all of that. And then, they're gonna be doing monthly budget checks against what they're doing, and then we're gonna be doing quarterly here, and trying to do. So it was a good first meeting in terms of kind of getting that process straightened out for everybody and on the same page. So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
Every time I drive by, or a lot of times when I drive by the town garage, my little one comments on your sandcastles.
Your sandcastles.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty impressive sandcastles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's quickly just buzz through the rest of Public Works. This shouldn't take very long, but the buildings and grounds, the 98 Main Street update is just that we did get a verbal commitment from USPS that they do want to move back into the 98 Main Street location.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I'm just waiting to get that in writing with a lease term defined, and then clarification on whether they want to go back into where they were versus where they, or take the whole building over. Because they could do either as far as I think we're concerned. We just need to know what they want to do.
Well, yeah. And then, yeah.
I
I mean, Yeah, and then who's gonna remodel it, fix the building?
Yeah, and so.
That's the other big question.
Yep, so with that, with this verbal commitment, I have tentatively rescheduled the appraisal we approved months ago that we put on ice. Because that feeds into the discussion around the potential sale of the building to the Postal Realty Trust that we've talked about.
Yeah,
They are still interested in the building. I've been in contact with them on like a weekly basis. Essentially what they will need to know is the appraisal for the building and the terms of the contract. And
Yeah.
so the sequencing here is going to be getting the written commitment from USPS with the contract terms, the appraisal on the building back, and then getting that to Postal Realty Trust to see if that basically gets all their ducks in a row that they do want to essentially make an offer on the building, which then kicks it back to us to figure out, okay, do we keep the, whether you want to call it an asset or liability, probably a liability, do we keep that and remodel it and do that, or do we sell it to the Postal Realty Trust, who then takes over the lease and has to handle all of the remodels and modifications?
yeah.
Either way, it looks like we're getting to a point where USPS is coming back to the center. The question's going to be whether we maintain the landlord status or we enter into negotiations to sell the building. And if we do that, that will trigger a separate process around the sale or disposal of assets, which we'll get into another time.
Yeah,
So that's the update there. Water Commission update. We just need to execute the water operator contract. We haven't done that. That's here tonight for execution or signature by the board members. And then the Reagan Road Power Project. I did meet with the landowner last Friday up there to talk about the pole placements. We reviewed where the poles are going. They're on board with it, so now I just have to get all the material to Velco. They will draft the easements for us and for them and get them back. Yes, Vermont, not Velco, Vermont Electric.
yeah,
Yep. But yeah, Vermont VEC.
yeah.
And they will draft the easements for both of us.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So they're already, oh, good.
Yeah. Yep. So that is finally moving ahead now that we've got their buy-in on board.
Oh, good, okay.
So,
Still might be tight, trying to get it in this fall.
yeah,
Well, good. Vermont Electric will have to do their part before we
yeah,
do ours, but even if they can get that in,
yep.
you know.
But if we can basically get them the high sign now that we're moving forward with it, they can hopefully schedule the work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to visitors if there's nothing else under Public Works anyone's got. Okay, hearing none, we'll go to visitors. First up is Carissa with the Conservation Commission. She was on the agenda, so Carissa, feel free to take the floor and I will screen share your PowerPoint.
So thank you guys. I sent in an email to each of you.
Yeah.
Basically, the Reagan County Natural Resource Conservation District, they met preliminarily with engineers and they went over the project. This isn't the group that they'll necessarily be using, but just to get an estimate for a grant to write the bid in and get more information. So she met with them and you'll see an orange dotted line there. They recommended that be surveyed and then they recommended the modeling be within that blue line area so they could capture more of the watershed dynamics. So the blue line would be more on the computer modeling. The orange line would be more feet on the ground, so to speak. Next slide, please.
And just to quickly recap for those that might be joining at home for the first time or tuning in to this, essentially this is related to getting a grant to do some modeling work to figure out if there's potential to do any floodplain restoration or river work that would mitigate flooding, right? That's a quick way to describe it? Okay.
Yep.
And any properties identified on here are not properties where work is planned or there's commitment from landowners. All this is doing is modeling whether or not that's a possibility. If or when there was, then it would be a case of reaching out to any landowners that are not related to town-owned land.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that that's clear to folks. And then anytime we put up a map that shows properties, people get like jazzed, so.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Yeah.
That's a great backstory to this. Yep. Yeah, and so this in no means is our hard numbers, and you can't quite see it here because of the screen, the way that it's showing up. But she put an estimate together for about 50,000.
That's weird. I moved it on my screen.
That would be project advisor, project manager, and project engineer. And so that is not, we will not be holding this grant, it would be Franklin County, they would be putting in for it. And they suggested, so the engineering company also estimated based off of previous projects that they've done. Thank you. That 3 meetings with the town as part of this project, so just to let you guys know what will be on the radar in the next few years. And having a final report would be doable by 2024. And then other things that would be helpful for this whole process is if we have any reports from V-Trans or the road crew about damages from past flooding, FEMA reports, which we already have one that we got from Lindsay White, and then eventually connections to landowners who might be in the area of the blue lines on the map. And then she said that they would know by spring whether or not they got the grant, and then it would be kind of, she'd be putting out bids for this job at that time. So I'm sitting in front of you tonight, basically there's a letter of support that would need to be submitted with the grant, and if you would like to sign it, that's basically what's on the table.
Yep. And so the grant is being submitted by the Conservation Commission on behalf of the town.
So it's the conservation, it's not us at all submitting the grant.
It's the Conservation District.
It's the Conservation District, and they would be the grant holder. So at this time, they're writing the grant. Lauren Weston, I think, is, under grants, they have project managers.
Yep.
She would be the project manager on this.
Okay, right, that's right. So this is a grant that we are not financially held to or in any way,
We want cooperation.
we're a cooperating partner.
Correct.
We have no financial obligation to the activities outlined in this grant.
That is correct.
We're a partner because we own the property, is that, or just the whole project?
Your
Yeah.
letter of support, because
Yeah.
one, because of the town, but also because we own the property.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Or one of the properties.
one of
that's
the
being looked
properties,
at.
Yep.
yeah.
But, having municipality buy-in is definitely important.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, and the letter just says, we believe that exploring these alternatives and opportunities to positively influence the streams and rivers in our town will best serve the interests of our community and build resilience for the future. So.
you sent us some pictures of other projects they've done, they look,
Yeah, that last report that
Yeah.
she sent me was pretty comprehensive, and they had a couple different alternatives on there, and so that was nice,
Yeah.
because if one thing doesn't work, and
Yeah.
then I think also what we would wanna know, is what does it mean downstream? How do we, if we do this project, if we actually, decide to move forward with whatever they model, what's the implications downstream for us?
Great.
Or within the town.
Any other questions for Carissa on the project? All right, I'm gonna stop screen sharing then. And somehow get out of this on my computer. Great, so then the motion would be to submit the letter of support.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion to submit the letter of support for the grant application by NRDC by Leanne, seconded by Suzanne. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Thanks, Carissa.
Thank you.
That's great. Do you want,
Do you guys sign at the end of the sentence, or?
yeah, do you do you want, should we all, what would you like? We can all sign it, or we can reprint with just a title block and I can sign it, or?
I left it kind of blank just to see however you guys usually do it. I think any way you wanna do it.
We sign it right now and give it to you, does that work?
That works.
All right.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yep, so I'll send that to her tomorrow.
Great, so we can just circulate that around the table. Awesome, sweet. All right, now we're gonna go to visitors on the Zoom, because there is no one else in the room. And we go in the in the order of folks that joined. And Susie, I think that you were the first one on the Zoom, so take it away, floor is yours.
I'm just observing, you move an agenda quite along at a good pace, I'm impressed. Nope, just trying to get my feet wet in what's going on in Montgomery, and a little late to the story and getting in on these things, but just kind of listening, taking it in. Naturally, it kind of sounds familiar to a lot of things going on around, but just observing, thank you.
Okay, thanks Susie. Merle, let's go to you. Do you have anything for visitors, Merle?
Oh, just a couple, I guess.
Okay.
That riverbank, is that $500,000 just to stabilize that riverbank? Is that what that's for?
Yes, it is, and it's just as absurd as you think it is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so a lot of inflated costs there. I tell you, that don't make much sense.
Nope.
Anyway, yeah, you're gonna go through with that?
Well, I think what we discussed is we're going to apply for supplemental funding to support it, and in the interim, we're going to circle back to V-Trans, the engineers, anybody that will listen, and try to get them to understand that essentially the fix that's in there is working pretty well, and we don't need to spend another $375,000 to refix it. So
Yeah.
we're going to keep trying. Unfortunately, we're kind of at the mercy of V-Trans and the Army Corps of Engineers.
We're still do that, are we?
I'm sorry, Merle, you broke up a little bit there. Your connection.
Yeah, I'm still having trouble. Consolidated can't seem to repair this internet up here.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, the town isn't forced to stabilize that bank, are we?
Well, so this goes all the way back to 6 years ago when we noticed the bank was eroding towards the road, and we started reaching out for assistance from the state, and the state told us because it was all private land, we couldn't do anything. We had to wait until it was in the road right of way, at which point we could act and get funding assistance, which is when we started with the patchwork that's there, but essentially due to state and Army Corps requirements, we're roped into this process now. So short answer is no, we don't have to do the work, but if we don't, the road's going to disappear.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. And if it did go to the road, then that's up to the state to take care of, right?
Well, it's a town road, so I think it would be on us to take care of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was
Yeah.
thinking it was going to hit 118.
Yeah.
No.
I wish it was a state road.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was gonna
Let them pay the bill.
Yeah.
hit- Yeah, okay. Yeah, good out here. That conservation project, is that fully funded?
So the one that Carissa just outlined, it's a grant that the Conservation District is applying for. And that would be a fully funded grant for them to do the scoping work that's outlined. So that's all funded by grant funding. There's no municipal funds that would be part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the streetscape. Where can you had, I guess, some type of agreement or something? Is that on the internet somewhere on Townsend's website?
What agreement are you? I'm not sure what agreement you're referring to.
how do we find out? For,
So we're gonna be,
what's that?
whoops, sorry, I just lost my Zoom. So we're gonna be having some public meetings coming up on the project because the survey work has been completed, and so the next steps there are gonna be come back to the community with the base survey done, and at that point, we're gonna be circling back to essentially what do we wanna do for design. We have this preliminary design that was done a couple of years ago that was kind of a throw it all at the wall and see what sticks just to get an estimate to go after grant funding, but now the rubber's hitting the road as far as what the design elements we actually want are. And so I expect that sometime this fall or early winter, we'll be hosting public meetings to get community input on what actually we want to build now that we have the survey work complete.
But the village is not gonna be included.
And the village, and Merle, just so you're aware, the village is not going to be included in this work. It was too expensive.
Yeah. I keep cutting out. What was survey?
So the survey work was essentially to go in and survey all of the hard features in the center. So actual road edge, right-of-way locations, where things like poles and trees and porches and parking areas are, essentially to figure out exactly how much of what we have and where it is, so that we know exactly how much space we have to work within.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's laid out. It obviously isn't laid out on the ground, but there is Route 118. I think is surveyed all the way through.
So there's also survey work happening in conjunction with the wastewater project. So there's a survey team also finishing up in the village right now, doing a ground survey for the wastewater system. So there's multiple surveys happening right now, but as far as the streetscape work goes, that is all pertaining to the center.
And I'll tell you, I don't know if you ever saw it or not, there's no rhyme or reason to that highway right away. It's not two straight parallel lines. It's crazy.
And that's hopefully what they're going to document on the ground for us so that we can see exactly where it goes and what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Merle. Good to see you again. Sue, anything for visitors?
Actually, yeah, I have a question for, I guess, really Mark. For instance, the Nutting Road or the Sheldon Farm Road, is there a standard for how wide a class 3 road, those are class 3 roads, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a standard for how wide a class 3 road is?
What? Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Is it a 3-rod right of way?
Yeah, 3-rod, yeah.
And how long is a rod?
Okay, well now speak English. What's 3 rods?
So,
well, 30, 40 feet, yeah.
I mean, is it 50 foot? Is a road 50 feet wide or?
So a rod, one rod is 16.5 feet.
Yeah.
So a 3-rod.
3/4 feet.
Yeah, so a 3-rod right of way is essentially 50 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just under 50.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows the history of why it's a rod, you know more than I do.
Right. Okay, so like for instance, the Nutting Road. The Nutting Road is 50 foot wide?
Well, it's supposed to be, but some places may be narrower.
Well, the right of way is 50 feet wide.
Not necessarily the road.
But the road
Yeah.
isn't necessarily 50 feet wide.
Okay, so the right of way is 50 foot.
Yeah, so it's like 25 feet from the center line on each side, yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, but there's no
Right of way.
center lines on these roads.
No, but it's 50 feet.
Okay,
right
so,
away.
that makes more sense to me. The right of way, the whole right of way is 50 foot.
Yes.
The road may only be 35 feet
Yeah.
wide or 30 feet wide. Okay, that makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I had.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Sue.
you.
you don't, still, you don't want to use 50 feet in any legal document for right of way if it was only, it's under 50 feet.
Yeah,
Right,
50,
right,
50
right.
feet is a ballpark. It's not exactly 50 feet.
No.
Exactly,
49.5, I think, is the.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. No, there was no legal document involved. It was actually just for my knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay,
Sue.
thank you.
All right, so having cleared visitors, Old Business Conservation Commission, Carissa explained the project. We've already approved the letter of support. We just discussed the wastewater and streetscape projects as far as where they're moving forward on. And so
I had one more thing for the road. We got a quote for a rear backup camera for truck number 1.
Okay.
It's it's $436, but I just wanted to run it across the board. It was recommended we get one from the insurance company to put on. That's the only truck that doesn't have a
For truck 1?
For truck 1, doesn't have a backup camera, and then this camera would be for the sander too. So,
Okay. And what's the quote for?
$436, 85 cents.
So $436, technically, under the purchasing policy, as a purchasing agent, Mark has the ability to just make the purchase, because this could be considered, I don't know if it would be vehicular maintenance, but it would be,
Well,
it's,
Accessory.
yeah, it's basically a truck, but bringing it to the board just for, ratification, which is always good. So is there a motion to approve the backup camera for truck 1 in the amount of $436?
85 cents.
Yeah.
And, was it 85 cents?
Yeah.
Better get that right for the minutes. The auditors wouldn't approve.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah.
Motion by Suzanne, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Only new business item here, we've talked about this briefly last meeting, but it wasn't on the agenda, so we're circling back to it. So this is in your packet in front of you as well. Basically, the second page in your thing outlines the cost savings here. Essentially, this is to replace all of the streetlights with LEDs. The total cost would be about $10,000, $10,325. The Efficiency Vermont would pay $5,900 of that, meaning that the town's share would be $4,425. If we put these in, we would pay off the town's portion of that after 23 months, so 2 years.
Yeah.
The only question here that I have on this is, it sounds great, like I'm all for it, it's efficiency, it's great, we're saving energy, we make it back in 2 years. The question I have is that if we're gonna shell out $4 grand, it takes us 2 years to make back, if we move forward with the streetscape work in the center, we might be putting in LEDs that would be part of that project, and therefore the cost would be borne by the federal or state funding that we get to support the construction of the project.
So would it be better just to wait?
So
I mean,
Is there a deadline for like this part, their offer on this?
I don't know what the deadline is, but the longer we wait, the closer we get to potential construction of the streetscape work, and so the payback then gets into the streetscape work itself. So I don't know, $4,000 in the grand scheme of the municipal budget is not gonna make or break us. It's still $4,000, but if it's $4,000 that we either take out of the town's coffers versus money that comes out of grant funding, I guess I would rather.
Well, if,
yeah,
say hypothetically,
but they'd
that
be paid for by the time, by 24.
They would be paid for by the time we hit 2024, and they could be reused
that's what I was
too.
gonna say.
So we could
down
reuse
the
them.
line, you could reuse them.
So it could be essentially net even. So out of the project cost, we'd already have the lights.
Plus, this must include the village too, so.
Yes, and that is true, it does include the village, so
Maybe.
the streetscape would not go towards the village, so you're right.
There's quite a few poles that are outside of just the
Yeah.
main street too. Like going up 242. And
Okay,
so I think it's worth doing.
Worthwhile.
yeah, okay. That was the only thing I wanted to float was just that question of, does it make sense to pay for something out of the town's money if we could end up getting it paid for out of grant funding? But your points are right about the village.
So where would this 4,000 come out of? Like a.
I talked to Aaron and essentially we could look to pull it out of infrastructure replacement probably.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Charlie, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
So would this be like the street light that's in front of my house on 242? Is
Yes.
that included?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it goes all the way up 242, okay.
Oh, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, any street
Town
light that
limits.
we pay for,
Yeah.
including the new one they found at the rec center. We just got a notice from the co-op that they realized that there's 2 lights at the rec center and we've only been paying for one, so they're gonna start charging us for the other one now too. How they found that out, I have no idea, but
Well, I thought,
Charlie, look at all the money you're gonna save on Christmas wreaths. But they won't.
but no, I saw somebody looking at all the poles one day, so that's probably it. They must have.
yeah.
did
Well,
like an audit.
and don't forget, the other thing that's coming is they're gonna replace all the poles on Main Street sometime this fall or next spring.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because Fairpoint needs to raise the wires for something, and I don't know, the whole thing's a mess.
yeah, I've already talked to him. about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then the motion would be to approve DEC's offer, EVT, Efficiency Vermont's offer, drawing the funds from the infrastructure replacement fund. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Great, is there a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. With that, we are through the agenda. Just looking to sign orders and such, so a motion to adjourn would be in order if there is one.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Good night,
second?
everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Is there a second?
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the meeting is adjourned at 7:28 p.m. Thank you, everybody, and we will end recording now.